Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you all for coming and checking back in with us. We are a part of the Darrell Bailey Real Estate team. Everybody waving hi. I am your host. We are your hosts. My name is Jazmyne. I'm Jazmyne McNeese. You all want to introduce yourselves?
Yes, I am Dejah Bailey.
I am Pruvi Pierre.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Welcome. And what we want to do today is just chat with you about the updates and what's been happening since the Nar settlement has gone into effect. So for New Jersey, that started August 1st. And now we are in the thick of it. I know the larger kind of world will hear more about it August 17th. So we are in the middle of those changes. We've been bringing all the information to you live. Because we've been realizing that in our markets and in the state in general, a lot of people are unaware of what's happening. Some folks are confused about what's happening. I mean, we have confusion. We have transactions right now, right, where we have to make this shift while we're still in the middle of transactions. And I think it's really important for us to communicate like what's happening, to talk about what's going on, to hear from you all if you all have questions, but really just to kind of like touch the surface and kind of get into a little bit of this because you all are going to hear about it more and more. I don't really hear it too much when it comes to like the news or anything like that. I mean, we're seeing articles come out, but we are definitely in the thick of it. So I definitely wanted to just go ahead and preface that and get us started. And we will be going over today a couple topics, right? We're going to dive into these topics. We're going to broad stroke and kind of give you an idea of kind of what's happening based on a few topics that we'll be talking about today. So I'll just go ahead and get it started. We'll go ahead and start with let's talk about just in general, like what are you all experiencing when it comes to just commission and being transparent when it comes to these updates with these NAR settlements, right? Like what are you experiencing when it comes to the commission? What questions are you being asked? What things are coming up? And what questions are people asking you? Like what are you seeing out there?
So I think first I'm just gonna say it's funny that you say like we're in the thick of it right now, even though a lot of other states are not going to start having to go through these changes for like 2 more weeks. So I just think it's funny. I feel like we're the guinea pigs,
Yeah.
like we're the test rats.
That is true.
Because we're really just winging it. Like every time we learn new information, we come here and tell you guys. So this is seriously, we are in the thick of it. But I feel like one thing that's really important still is that commissions are negotiable. So even just being transparent with agents, like when they do come and ask, trying to explain to them like this is something that has always been negotiable, put it in your offer, and we can go from there and we can discuss from there. And then there's some agents that just aren't asking. So I'm not sure how they think they're going to get paid. They're not asking, they're not putting it in their offer either. So it's like these things are important. If you don't know, I do feel like you should ask. And for the agents that are brave enough to ask, we definitely appreciate it because it's like we can get past this part. Let's just, work as we, as usual. So that's what I'm seeing. What about you, Prue? You're on mute.
Sorry. I'm seeing a lot of confusion to the point where agents are, especially when they're wanting to place offers on our listings, it's like, well, basically asking me what do they do? Like, and it's like, if you do get an agent who asks you that, like you need to point them to their broker because you don't want to tie yourself up in any way because using certain language or things of that nature can easily get you in a lot of trouble as an agent. We work in an industry where you have to be extremely careful about what you say. Yeah. So with that being said, I mean, agents are literally just like, well, how should I put this offer together?
Yep.
And and you don't want to verbatim tell a agent how to put in an offer on your listing.
Yep.
That's something you don't want to do, because it definitely can put yourself at risk for fines, and you have a fiduciary obligation to your seller. And it's just certain lines that, even though you're trying to get the deal done, we're service people, so we love to give service, but just understand its boundaries with it as well. And I feel that agents definitely need to speak with their brokers more in depth on how to get their offers structured and different ways that they can get paid, so that they can produce this information to your clients. Because the other issue I'm running into with agents placing offers is that they're not disclosing what's happening right now with the National Association of Realtors with their clients.
Mm-hmm.
Especially these clients that they've been working with before everything has gone into place. They haven't informed them that there's a change and that they can be liable for the commission, because there are certain listing agents who are saying, we're giving out 2.5 commissions, on their flyers, because we can't no longer put it on the MLS. They're putting these things on the flyers, so they're hoping they get a property that has this situation going on, to where the buyer won't have to worry about any changes. But what if your buyer is interested in a property where that is not the scenario? So it's very important for buyers agents to have these important conversations about the changes with their client. So when you come across a property that fits the description, where the seller isn't offering commission but concessions, they need to be aware of this education, so that they're not scared, overwhelmed, and actually prepared for what's to come.
Absolutely. These conversations definitely should have been started a while ago. Like, we have had this news probably since the beginning of the year, or a little towards the end of last year. Like, we were already anticipating this. So I know as a team, we have already, been preparing our buyers and our sellers for this shift. Like, since the beginning of the year, if we've been working with you that long, like, we have been having these talks, so it will not feel like such a culture shock, because I think that's one of the issues that these people are running into, Pruvi. I do think they didn't have those uncomfortable conversations
in the beginning
when they should have been having them. Like, swallow the frog, get the hard things done in the morning. Literally, get the hard things done early, because when it gets to this point, it is kind of hard to have that conversation.
Yeah. And I definitely feel that buyers agents are scared to have the conversation. And I feel that they're scared of losing business. You've been working with a person for so long, and then you tell them, this is what's going on. You don't want to lose somebody you've already been working with, putting time in. You do want to get paid.
Did we lose
Really?
Pruvi?
I know, because she was giving the goods.
Yeah, no, really.
I think that went right into my next topic, which was the buyers, the buyer's agent compensation. I think that's literally what
Yeah.
was getting at. That those of you who have not had these conversations with your buyers, what you're looking at and what you're experiencing now is a little bit of uncomfortability. Now it's a little bit of concern, because not only have you been spending your time, right, because I also too am a buyer's agent, but too as well. And so I think when you spend a lot of time with a buyer and you've already been driving and you've already seen a bunch of houses, and maybe you all have been in this relationship for a long time, especially because rates have gone up and down and things have been really crazy, you really, really, really just don't want to lose the client. And I could completely understand that. But I think the reality of the situation is once you get to the closing table, when you get that closing disclosure, when you see that settlement sheet, when the numbers start to break down, you have to be able to explain to the title company that this is a conversation that you had with your buyer already, i.e. your buyer's agreement. And if you all haven't had this conversation already, if you haven't been talking about it, if you haven't been doing what you need to do as an agent, to not only like walk them through the process successfully, which, you know, a lot of us do, but also just making sure that your client is secure, legally. I think it's important, you know, that we don't lose sight of that. And I don't think that it's not a good business to allow fear. And let me, I'm preaching to the choir, but it's not good business to allow fear to come in between the relationship between you and your client, because then at that point you're not doing your fiduciary duty to your client. And I think that's really important. I think the biggest thing in real estate and a lot of the conversations that have been happening over all of these changes is not wanting to give too much money if you didn't need to, and not to lose your money to someone who has scammed you. And I think that's the whole reason why we're here, right? This is the reason why the Nar settlement even kind of came to be, is because sellers kind of felt like their agents or the brokerages might have been price fixing, right? How that shook out really didn't necessarily address their concerns, right? We're talking through what those changes actually look like and the effects of those changes and the forms that we have to fill out now because of that.
Absolutely.
Right? So we definitely understand like the practical aspect and the practical effects. But I think in theory, we were trying to do, the idea, I guess, was to try to make sure that everybody, you know, was being represented in the right way. Right. Yeah. And there's no way that you can be representing your client in the right way if they find out at the closing table that they have to pay you the commission, or that the commission is added to their loan, and now as a concession, and now they have to pay a little more per month, and they didn't know that already, no matter how big it is, right? Because it can be anywhere from a few dollars to a few hundred, right, depending on what price range you're in. But I think it's important to, you know, to disclose things like that. So buyer agent compensation is important, because listing agents get paid too, right? Whichever side of the transaction you're on, you get paid if you're on the listing side, you get paid if you're on the buyer side. But I think the laws now, I know the laws now have changed to where, in order for you to be compensated as a buyer's agent, you need to have that conversation with your buyer. Even if it doesn't come out of their pocket, they just need to know what the possibilities could be, just because every transaction is different.
Yes, and I just want to elaborate. It is a hard conversation. So we have had to have these conversations. And just like I was saying, because we, you know, had foreseen these changes happen, and we started making those changes in the business. So I know in April, I started working with the buyer. You know, when I was putting the paperwork together, I drafted out my email on, you know, explaining what the exclusive buyer agency agreement was. I explained, you know, why my fee was what the fee was. And so obviously this was actually someone who had previously purchased a home before. So previously they didn't have to pay their buyer's agent. So it got a little heated. It was a little back and forth, but after I explained what was going on with the settlement and why it was in place, you know, we came to an agreement, and they were like, "Oh, okay, we get it. Like, you have to get paid somehow, right?" So, you know, again, because I prefaced that to them, you know, April, it's now August when it's in effect. Unfortunately, we haven't found anything. Like, we are submitting offers, but a lot of them are getting outbid. But can you imagine if I would have waited until now and been like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna have to pay me. You're gonna have to pay me
I think
this,"
that's
because
the thing. I think a lot
yeah,
of they're there.
yeah,
You definitely, and if there's any example of what an agent should have done, could have done, would have done, I think Dejah just literally laid it out. I think it's really important that we act in that way, because now I think we all felt the sentiment like, Yeah, I don't know if I would have wanted to have that conversation now that, all the hoopla is out, because not only is it that you have to have the conversation about your compensation, and everybody has their own personal feelings about money, but you now have to have a conversation about why what you're doing is different or opposed to what's happening in the media. And you have to now walk your buyer through all of the articles and all the stuff they read online and what their cousin and their auntie said about the Nar settlement and the reason why realtors shouldn't do or couldn't do X. And now you have to, deal with all of that when, if you were able to create a relationship with your buyer in the beginning, it kind of saves you all of that hassle, or a lot of it, maybe not all of it, but it does allow you to kind of save a little bit of hassle later on. And that's just, something that we want to point out.
And it makes you look more credible. Sorry, my computer restarted
True.
out of
Right.
nowhere, but
You came in right on time.
you
True.
definitely look more credible. It people think it's gonna make them look bad or lose business, but it makes you look even better, because once you warn them and tell them and create that safe space, and then you guys bump into it, it's like, okay, so this is an example of what we talked about before. And it's like, it's like, okay, I see where you're going. We're bumping into this in real time now. So it's only going to make you look better. So disclose and educate.
I like that. Disclose and educate. The same line of thought. And we kind of already talked about what educating buyers looks like. But I kind of want to tie this into the sellers part. What does it look like when you're educating sellers about what's happening? Dejah just did kind of a walkthrough of what it looks like for buyers. And how are you talking about or discussing these listing agreement adjustments to your sellers?
I'm just keeping it all the way 100. Especially because it's not super scary for them, because they were already paying the entire commission anyway. But I'm just letting them know, well, the form of payment for buyers is looking a little different now. And then I give them examples of what's that gonna look like in the offers that we receive. So that when they see an offer for 500 and they're like, well, why I'm not getting that 500? We've already spoken about how buyer's agents are already going to come in with a certain amount, but of that amount, some of those funds are going to be allocated to the buyer's agent so that they can get paid. So I'm just breaking down the different ways that buyers will be coming to us so that we can be prepared and already, well versed in the different ways that they will come. I also let them know they may request a certain percentage of what it may come as a flat fee, like $10,000 towards buyer's agent costs, or maybe 2% of the purchase price goes to the buyer's agent. But I also let them know that this is for strong offers. This is not something we're considering for lowball offers, because then what is in it for the seller at that point? You understand? So I just let them know, even though this is happening, we're going to make sure that this works for the seller as well. And we're not just taking anything and giving anything. We're making sure that it makes sense.
Absolutely. What about you, Dejah?
I feel like Pruvi hit on everything perfectly. Like she said everything correctly. I personally don't have anything to add. That is everything that I would be saying as well to the sellers. And like she said, it has been an easier pill for them to swallow, I will say. Most of the buyer stories or the buyer communications, they go like that first one that I've already told you guys about. It's a lot of questions, it's a lot of fear, especially if someone in the transaction has already purchased a home before. So many questions. So definitely an easier conversation.
Absolutely.
And it could get frustrating. It could definitely get frustrating, because I'm not gonna lie. It's been like, I feel like, everybody is going through it, especially buyer's agents, because
Yeah.
they're getting hit really, really hard. And realistically speaking, does this affect the buyer's buying power? Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
So buyers agents are pissed because the 420 that they had to purchase a property, or I'm gonna keep it right there around that range, because this is who is gonna affect the most. Because people who can afford $700,000-$800,000 houses, a couple $1,000 more is not really gonna hurt them for real. But the lower end buyers who only have like 420 to 450 pre-approvals, you were already making it by the skin of your teeth. Yep. Right? So now it's like, instead of 450, it's looking like 420,
420,
430, because you have to give some of that pre-approval funds to the buyer's agent. What was looking like 420 might look like a 410,
400.
Right. So it's we also have to be patient and empathize. So it's not like this is the way it is now, especially listing agents. This is for y'all. Don't get impatient with buyers or buyers agents, because they are getting hit hard the most in this situation. So for me and myself, when I'm speaking to buyers and buyers agents, I'm extremely empathetic on their situation. And it's like, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to, assist you within those boundaries. But it's very important to speak with your broker as well. Luckily, we have Darrell. Yeah. And like Dejah said, we've been prepped for this already. We were already putting things like this in effect with our buyers. So we're already comfortable with this. But it took us time to adjust to it as well.
Months and months.
It definitely took us time to adjust. So it's not going to be an overnight thing, but we got to have patience. It's just like being a new agent all over again. We just got to learn the ropes and learn new rules, but it's definitely something we can get through.
That's literally was my next thing, was like training for agents, like as a seller's agent or as a buyer's agent. I think Pruvi had already mentioned, like, if your broker is not talking about this, please ask questions. Please ask questions, because what I would hate to happen is for you to get to the closing table and figure out y'all got to go to court. Like, there is no reason why this can't be prevented or talked about or addressed now, which is why we're having this conversation, and we're happy that you all are joining us. But that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. Training for agents. That Pruvi is not going to be all agents.
Right. Unfortunately. Right. That is very true. That's very true.
The way you see us now is how we are when we do transactions as well. So we're very personable. You can definitely talk to us no matter, like, whatever it is. Like, we're here to kind of solve your problems. That's what we do. But I think the other conversation that I kind of wanted to have when it comes for training for agents is, I think it goes both, like you talked about it, I think it goes both ways, right? Like, for some of the listing agents who have maybe never seen this before, right? Because then when you do start to have buyer agency agreements and there is like a percentage commission there, then you have some listing agents who are like, hold on, I've never seen that before. My seller's not, it's like, no, this has already been decided. This is what my buyer is going to handle, and this is what your seller is going to handle. Like this, we've already discussed that. And not everybody has been educated on what we're talking about today. So I think that just goes to show the importance of what we're talking about. But that's one of the things I was thinking. I think we need training for both for agents on both sides, and cooperation amongst agents.
Yeah.
Because Pruvi's not going to be every agent. And sometimes a lot of the things that we like go through as agents can really be solved with a conversation. And that's something I learned this week. Getting on the phones, having conversations, and just having a person-to-person conversation. Like, sometimes, a lot of the times when it comes to the transactions, there's a lot of emotion and a lot of energy. And I realized this week, after having my own experiences, that a lot of that can literally be cut out by just having a conversation. And sometimes that's all it needs. That's all it needs.
Yep.
And sometimes I hear it, right? Because some agents are like, well, I've experienced this, and we just want to make sure that you're not going to do this to us. And, because people have had bad experiences in the past. But I do think now more than ever, among agent, like cooperation with each other in terms of like, just, like, hey, I noticed something. You should probably check this out. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to tell you to, maybe you should get a second look on X or Y. I think something like that, to me, I find that I would see that would be more helpful, especially in times like this.
I agree. I was very happy also today when we were in the training when our broker spoke about the agency being a new requirement for the continuing education class. So I think that's important too, having that requirement. So we actually have to really tap into it because we go to the state weekly meetings, but all agents are not doing that, so they're not getting that information. With CE, you have to sit down and take the time for that information, really delve into it and hopefully be tested on it. I know a lot of these CE classes are different. It's a recording, you can jump in, jump out, but I really do hope it's something that we actually have to really commit to, because the standards are changing and we need to be able to change with them.
Absolutely.
Right. I have a question for you ladies. How do you feel about the rules changing, but you still have some listing agents who are putting in the flyers, okay, 2.5% for for biased agents. Like, how do you feel that will affect the change that's, happening?
I feel like they are going against the regulations, right? Because discussing any commission with somebody that's outside of your brokerage is price fixing. So it's like they're trying to go around the issue, but you're still a part of the problem. Like, this is why we're in this mess right now. Like, can we please grow?
This
Like,
is how we got here. No,
I mean, great idea. I get it. It's not on the MLS, but no,
Right.
come on, guys.
Right. Because one of the changes was that the compensation would be removed from the MLS, but we do still have these third-party sites. Agents still send out flyers, right? We do our marketing, right? Well, most of us do our marketing. So it's really
Shade. Shade.
so it's really, really important that you pay attention to things like that, because I'm also interested to see how that's gonna like come into effect. Like, how are they going to regulate that? Because you literally
Yes.
a world that you just don't want to listen to the Nar settlement, which actually is not even like, I keep talking about the settlement, but what I should be saying is that this actually went into New Jersey state law as of August. So technically what they are doing is illegal. It is completely illegal. Now, I'm not the police. I'm not, saying that to nobody. I'm gonna mind my business, but I'm just saying you're making it really, really obvious for someone to give you a fine for any reason, right? You're making it very, 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 very obvious. The way I feel about it, I see it as those are the listings I'm going after. To be quite honest,
that was a real answer. That was a real answer.
It's no way to sugarcoat it. Those are the listings I'm going after, because what you're showing me is there's a little bit of like
a little hope.
Hello, there's a little bit of hope there, and I can help you because I feel like I have some information that can kind of help you get to where you need to be. So I want to definitely take advantage of that opportunity, both for my client and myself, right? I want to be able to put myself in the best situation to have a relationship with an agent that has a house or as a listing that my client wants. And those are some of the things that I think we don't talk about as agents. Like, there are a variety of ways that you can get a house, right? There are a variety of ways that you can search for a house, right? There are a bunch of websites, but offers are sent in emails, right? So it doesn't take long for you to put an offer in on a house. A house can go very quickly because of that. And you have to, I think it's even because of all the technology, we have to be smarter about how we interact with people so that we can get the job done. And I think
Absolutely.
what this NAR settlement has taught me, if anything, is that you're literally raising your hand and saying, I do not understand the NAR settlement and I'm not sure how to deal with this in a transaction. And me, I'm saying, hey, I actually do understand that. You're raising your hand for me to come in and put my bid on your listing. So
Yeah.
I'm seeing it today. I definitely, this didn't happen overnight, right? Again, it took months and months for us to get here. But I think as I'm starting to experience uptick in my business, right? And as I'm starting to learn from all the things that we're doing, and as we're also educating ourselves as agents on a weekly, daily basis about what's happening, I think, a lot of these nuances are starting to come to the forefront. And I think it's really, really important that, sometimes what's negative to somebody else can be positive to another. So I
Absolutely.
think that's how I'm seeing it right now.
I have to agree with the both of you. I see it on both ends. I feel like, in a way, I feel like they're holding on to something that, eventually I feel like by doing it, they're just gonna make more rules on,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like,
That's
it's
me.
okay.
Like, I'm like, don't do anything bad because everybody else has to, reap
Yeah.
the
Like,
consequences.
this what y'all want to do? Okay, beginning
Right.
September 1st.
And at that point, it's gonna be like 6 more forms.
Right. So
Right.
that's me,
Right.
but also Jazmyne, yes, agree.
Right. So I feel like it should be a more subtle way of doing that instead of just like, I just felt like, I don't know. I felt like it was wild because I looked and I was like, oh, okay. Like,
Like,
And
we
it's
don't
just like
fit.
it's like what Jazmyne said, like you might not get an agent like us, somebody might forward it off to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
commission board. Like we
Yeah.
Legit.
you just don't know. And I just want to limit any fines. I just want to limit fines and make you guys' life easier.
Yes, I agree. I feel like it's a thin line, like between, okay, I'll keep an eye out for that.
The line is so
yes.
blurred.
Yeah.
It's so blurred.
It's definitely blurred.
But maybe we closing.
I'm just hoping that it doesn't put more, because I feel like by it already happening, it's like, because real estate, the real estate industry is a beautiful industry, and
Absolutely.
before this happened, it was even more beautiful,
Yeah.
So I feel like they're trying to dim the light. I just don't want them to cut the lights off. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
By making it super strict on everything. So I'm just
Being aware.
I'm just hoping the ball stops here and we don't have to deal with any more restrictions, especially when it comes to the commissions. I feel like it's just, if this is what we're going to do, let's just figure out how we're going to do this instead of holding on to what we had before, because eventually they're going to crack down on it so much so that we can't, you know what I mean? So I'm just like, everyone, I feel we're better off just trying to really put our heads together and create avenues for these buyers to make it happen. I really feel bad for like lower end buyers. That's my
thing. That was gonna be my next topic. Impact on home prices and how this is gonna affect buyers. I think the other side of this conversation, which I see people are not having, is that at the lower end price ranges or the more mid-level price ranges, we're seeing a lot of buyers come in and out of the market so quick. And when I say in and out of the market, like we're showing homes 1 minute and then we're not, because now we're falling out of financing, or like our financing is not where it needs to be. Okay, interest rates are here. Okay, yeah, we can move, but now we need to pause because things our circumstances have changed. both like with individuals and their own personal experiences, and then also the interest rates in the market, and then also what programs are available or not, which ones are full, like the things that are happening that we're seeing with our more our with our buyers that are on the other end of the spectrum, is that, you know, they're having a really hard time figuring out when's the right time, what should they do. And I think the for me, the one thing that or one kind of piece of solace that I can like advocate on is like, I can just speak from experience. I definitely had a buyer. We have been probably searching for about 3 or 4 months now. And they are on their way to the closing table. And they are on one of those, you know, those price ranges. And I think what's interesting about that is that you just have to have this will to keep going, regardless of what happens on the outside. As long as you've done your savings and it is where it is. I mean, sometimes folks, you know, lose jobs and things like that change, and that can really affect your financing, right? Because you need to have, I think, like 2 years at least at minimum of work history in order for that to qualify. And if you're self-employed, that's a whole nother conversation. But I'm just, you know, that it's really important, like, that we think about those on the other end of the spectrum, but not give up on them. Like sometimes, and what I'm experiencing is that sometimes you just need someone that's going to go to bat for you. And sometimes you just need somebody that's not going to take no for an answer. And I think a lot of our buyers on that side of the spectrum definitely need buyer agents who are just gonna go to war for them, because some of it is just a matter of the patience. Some of it is just having the time. Some of it is like talking our buyers off of a ledge, right? Because they're like, I can't deal with this, but it's like, you don't have to. I can deal with this. I will call you when I see something you want, right? Like, we can figure this out, so that you can take a mental break, but like, you know that your agent is still working in the background. Again, not everybody does what we do.
Facts.
Which is why we are having this conversation.
Right.
But I think,
and too, the interest rates are going down.
Yes, they are going down.
So the buyer agent fee might be going up.
Hello.
The interest rates are going down. So it's like we
yesterday's price is not today's.
Yes.
Price.
So that is definitely free up some money. So you can pay your buyer's agent and get you your house. But
because, you know, I mean, the amount of work that doing is important, right? Like, we're also educating ourselves about this NAR settlement. We're trying to make sure that you're in compliance, that everything you got going on is legal. We're looking at your lenders. We're looking at your attorneys. We're following the email chains. We're making sure that your transaction goes as smooth as it can. And that takes a lot of work, okay? 24/7. Real estate is a 24/7 business.
I think even the conversation of it impacting their buying power, and I know, Jazmyne, me and you spoke about this last week off of the call, how it's important, if you don't have funding, to get it, because we really need to know that number so we can know or negotiate our commission, so it's not in a place that it's hurting you or impacting you closing out the deal, you know. So that approval is very important, because we can get some concrete numbers, because you don't want to agree to a commission and then once the numbers are run, you figure out that you're going to be, you know, house rich and cash poor. You're not going to have any money after closing. So those conversations are important, and definitely want to have a lender involved. And something else that I know that all of us do on this phone is we're in constant contact with, you know, our clients, lenders, when we're placing offers. Hey, before I even submit this into the listing agent, look this over. Do these numbers make sense? Are the taxes reasonable? You know, every offer, we're having these conversations. We're having weekly conversations to figure out what's going on in the market, if they have any new programs that they can offer. So it's a lot going on in the background. Seriously, we're not just opening doors.
Okay. I couldn't have said it better.
Heavy on that.
The other thing,
if only that was the case.
I mean, I'm just thinking about it. Like, I know the HGTV examples make it look good.
They do, don't
They
they?
make it look like it's that easy. They might show you an ugly house or two, right? A house that's like broken down, or maybe it's just down to the studs and don't really have much, or maybe just has like a really like bad leak or something like that. But like real estate is a people business. It is a relationship business. And all the time we have to make sure that we have to be in contact with people. And it's really,
Yeah.
really important that we do that. And I'm learning and growing every day and realizing that the more and more that we do our jobs, the better and better our clients are, right? And not just for the sake of us following rules and filling out forms, but because as the transaction is going, our clients, the other folks that are in the transaction who are part of your team, the lender, the attorney, the title company, the appraiser, the inspector, they start to talk about their experience working with your agent. And it's really, really important, right, that you have an agent that you feel you can have good feedback about, right? And one way to do that is to have a relationship with your agent. So I could not agree more, especially on the point about the pre-approval. I always say if you are working with, if you are a buyer's agent, or if you are a buyer trying to figure out whether or not you want to work with an agent, make sure you are both represented and qualified. You want to talk to somebody that makes you feel comfortable, because you're not going to listen to anybody you don't like. That's just what it is. And you have to be able to take the advice of your realtor. The second thing is that you have to be pre-qualified. In order for us to fill out that exclusive buyer's agency agreement that says that we're going to work together, you have to know how much you actually are going to be on the hook for. And you don't know if you don't know how much you're qualified for. And that's what a lender will give you. And we have those resources. So do make sure that you reach out to us and connect with us so that we can send you off into the right space. The other thing I wanted to put on the on the on the table was the marketing adjustments. We kind of talked about it a little bit. We kind of noted that we saw folks sending emails and posting flyers that still had the commission note on it. But I'm interested in how this would also impact the technology, right? So some of this is about where we are seeing things posted, but I'm interested into seeing like how certain platforms are responding to these MLS changes. I'm not sure if if you all have experienced any notes or notices from the MLSs that have kind of given a kind of feel for how they're responding to it. I know I know this, like, for example, like Zillow, some of them, they don't necessarily put it all the time. So it's not something that's really recommended, but a lot of the MLSs, some of them still allow you to put the compensation on there and some of them don't. So I'm interested to see what have you guys been experiencing, you ladies been experiencing when it comes to the tech?
I know Garden State MLS, the first that thing was gone. They said hasta la vista. I wish I could have done this yesterday. Like 12 a.m. it was gone. So, but they had already been and if I said GSMLS, that's the Garden State multiple listing service. So they had already been sending us emails like the weeks before, giving us a heads up. But on the first, it was gone. That whole section is just gone. It's not on the MLS anymore.
Yeah, definitely gone.
Uh,
For the New Jersey MLS, when I put up a listing just recently, they still asked me for the compensation, but it didn't show up. So
Okay.
I don't. I'm a little like, I don't know. Maybe they just didn't get to that part of the tech yet.
right.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not showing it as well. But the question is still there in order for you to publish it. So, but you still don't see it.
That's interesting. So Bright MLS, I definitely put up a listing recently, and it still asks you to put it there. I put 0. It is still asking. They do have like a tiny notice up that says, hey, we're upgrading our platform and this is how it's going to look. And it kind of talks about how the commission is no longer going to be there, but they are going to put in like more leveled out concessions space inside of the MLS for you to fill all those details out. So I thought that was interesting. I think The way we're seeing the tech decide what they're gonna do, and Bright MLS is Bright multiple listing service as well. What we're seeing that them do is kind of similar to what we're seeing the brokerages do, right? Because all the brokerages, some of them are in compliance with this, and some of them are like, yeah, right, we'll believe it when we see it. Like,
but I think this just goes back to what Pruvi said. It's like it seems like we're new agents, but a lot of the stuff, and you said it too, Jazmyne, earlier, you were like, it feels the same, right? Because why can't we disclose the amount of concession, but we can't disclose the percentage? Like it's the same.
I think the
It's
name
the
is
same,
right? They want you to say concession instead of
I'm hoping, my hope in this situation is that they do take into consideration all of this difficulty and maybe just say, you know what, let's just keep
go
it
back.
the same way.
Leave it alone. Psych.
not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. I love you guys' optimism though, but yeah, I'm a realist. It's not happening.
I do feel like there was a lot of money put behind this. I know folks are getting different forms made, right? Like open houses are gonna be different, and how we have to operate around that. So, and a lot of people went to court for this. A lot of people have done training for this. There have been a lot of meetings on this. So I think you're right, Dejah. I definitely do wish that, in another world, that they might just go ahead and just say, yes, like we was just playing, y'all. We thought that this was gonna be it, but not. We appealed it, right? So like, wouldn't that be crazy if they came back and appealed the whole thing and was just like, okay, we're done. We thought it was supposed to work one way and it didn't. But I think what I'm seeing is that, the words concession are a lot more agreeable than the words
yes.
So,
yes.
Heavy on the concession. Heavy. We're gonna if an agent didn't know what concession meant before,
they gonna know now. And it's funny though, because in the seller's market though, and I know for me, I came in on the seller's market during COVID when rates were like 2.5%. So I have seen some things, but isn't it funny that during that time, like seller's concession was not a thing? Like you could not ask for a concession when I came into the market. Like you had to be given the listing, the seller $40,000 over ask price, waiving inspections, waiving appraisal, and your firstborn child. So it was really crazy. You could not ask the seller for anything. So I just think it's interesting, especially because it still feels like we're in that seller's market space. It's not enough inventory for it to really be a buyer's market. So I just think it's interesting that we're gonna start seeing in this market, sellers concessions.
Absolutely.
It's so funny because literally when I came, the concessions was a thing. Like, seller's concession. When I came in as an agent, the thing to do was to add your closing cost into the loan. So, buyers requesting I'm offering 400. Buyers requesting $10,000 to go towards closing costs. That was the thing when I first started. Like literally, like every offer was adding the closing costs to the loan. But then COVID happened, and it was like all of that went out the window. So, agreeing with what you said, Dejah, I haven't seen a concession since COVID. So now it's like we're coming back into this. So is this gonna switch it from like a seller's market to a buyer's market? Especially because it's gonna control the value of the property, because now everything that the buyer has is not going to in some cases.
Yeah.
Right.
Thing that the buyer has is not going toward the
price of the property.
Yeah. Like, well, what are you gonna do about it? Because my agent gotta get paid. You know?
Exactly. I definitely think it's interesting that you say that. That's one of the things I was thinking about. Like, how the market is going to look now. When we look back on, like, let's say 6 months to a year from now, we looking at appraisals on properties that were made like with buyer agents only having to pay the commission and without. I think it's going to be really interesting because what just like how you explained, like what the concessions are now, I definitely think that the price of the properties are going to be higher, right? It's just like by virtue. So like, especially if you have a property that's going to be bought with a buyer's agent who's going to be compensated by their buyer or by their agent, and then, or if they decide to do a concession and they have to do it that way, the price of the property is going to be higher. So
Right. So whatever concession you're asking for, that's what you're going to have to come up to in your offer price. So the seller still clears their number and you get the amount of concession you want. So prices are going to go up. And
exactly.
Everybody keeps trying to speculate when they're going to drop. When are they going to stop going up? The prices have not stopped going up since I've started this. So right there, it's the conversation has to shift around when prices are gonna drop. Just stop. I don't think it's happening anytime soon.
I'm not seeing it. And even just thinking about that, like the seller has to make their number and the buyer's agent has to get compensated. That's two additional reasons why the price is going to be. And that's not even to even get to the fact that like rates are going down and they're expected to continue to go down even into next year, right? That's what we're hearing. So like
back to the 40,000 over asking.
We're right back in the seller's market, like right back where we started. In a situation where it might even be more inflated than before because now that prices have increased and the value of homes have increased because interest rates have gone down. You're now gonna be at a high, you're gonna have to make better offers. And some people are gonna be priced out.
We got an offer this week on one of our properties. I want to say it was 30,000 over asking, waiving appraisal and inspection. I have not seen a inspection waive since the 2.5% to 3% interest rates. I personally have not seen one since then. So when I saw it, I was just like, oh
yeah,
it's coming. Okay, all right, I see. This is about to get interesting. It's about to get interesting.
This is very interesting. I'm for one. I'm excited to see how everything is gonna roll out. I'm super excited to see. I feel like it's nothing but good things that's gonna come. We just gotta be, willing to pivot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pivot and cooperate. Right.
Pivot, cooperate, and adapt.
Come on, change.
Come on.
Be the change you wish to see in the world, please.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
As we wrap this up, ladies, if you have any final remarks for our viewers, what should they, going into this week, if anybody is going on showings, going on appointments, what should they be doing as the NAR settlement starts to unravel this week? What should our buyers and our sellers be thinking about going into this next week?
I want to say, first things first, only the strong survive. Nothing great comes easy, so don't give up. If a home is what you want, make sure you stick it out and make sure a home is what you get. Educate yourself as much as possible. Speak to credible sources, realtors, brokers, lenders, especially. Speak to those 3 sources so that you can be as educated as possible and understand the power that you truly have in purchasing a property. With that and your tenacity, there's no way you could lose. I don't care what's going on in the market. At the end of the day, if you want it, you're going to get it. But you just got to make sure that you educate yourself. That is the best thing you can do, is educate yourself. As long as you do that, sky's is the limit.
I know that's great.
Agreed.
They could check in with you.
And y'all know I am the listing agent queen. If you're looking to sell your home, and you need an agent who is knowledgeable in what's going on, prepared, and can educate you properly on how to get things done correctly and within compliance, I'm your girl. I not only do that, but I make sure I get you top dollar. Buyers, I'm here for you too. You know, I don't discriminate. So as we said everything that we said today, just know that myself and even the other girls, we are here to help. So in any capacity that you need any type of assistance, I'm here, and you can DM me at prove_selling NJ on Instagram.
Absolutely. Dejah, what about you? What are your final remarks for our viewers?
I would say my final remarks are very similar to Pruvi. As someone who specializes with buyers, I would say when choosing an agent, make sure it's somebody that you can have those uncomfortable conversations with that we spoke about earlier. Um, Obviously you want someone that's professional, that's well educated as well, but make sure it's somebody that you can trust. So if times do get a little tough, you guys will know how to manage that situation, and you can have a conversation about, what's actually going on. And it was something else. Oh, also, I know we spoke about how this change can impact buying power. Like Pruvi said, if it's meant for you, and it's something that you really want to do it. You might have to save a little extra, and that's okay. But again, we also are in connection with lenders who have great grant programs, and also have some low interest programs that we could probably put you in and get you assisted with. So don't be discouraged. We did not provide that information to discourage you, just to educate you. That's it. And if anything else, to motivate you to go harder to get to where you're trying to go. So if you're looking for me, my name is Dejah View Homes, not Deja Vu, Deja View. And that is for all of my social media handles. I respond. So thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I mean, my final words are, again, for my buyers, represented and qualified. If you feel like you are a little bit a ways away before you feel like you're comfortable enough, or you're not like just ready yet, still reach out and decide who you want your agent to be. It is no reason why the relationship can come before the paperwork. I think it should, so that you can decide whether or not you even want to sign the paperwork, right? Like that is the approach I would recommend to you. And there's no reason for you to sit on the sidelines. The best information that you can get is from somebody that's in the business and doing this every day, and that's what we do, and that's why we're here. I think that's if that's the one thing I can give buyers, I think that's the most important thing. The other thing is about being qualified, and that's just talking to a good lender. And sometimes I know some of my buyers don't want to, or they feel like it's a little weird, or am I calling like a telemarketer or something, because you really have never had a conversation with a realtor before, with a lender before. Or maybe, you use cash and that's just not your thing, but you never know what financing options may work better for you in the long run, because I work with investors as well. And so it's really, really important for you to be both represented, again, and qualified in order to move forward in this market. Those are the only two things that I think you need as a buyer when you're starting out. My other recommendation, again, if you all haven't said it enough, what's meant to be for you will be for you. Right, because deals fall apart for reasons that sometimes don't have anything to do with you at all. And you never know, what we're doing in the background to make sure, that our deals stay together, and that you get the house that you want, and that you're able to close in the smoothest way possible. And I think that's one, if there's one thing I can leave you with, that's something to consider. And lastly, meet us here back next week so we can keep talking, because we have so many more gems to give to you. So if you want to reach out to me, my name is Jazmyne, and you can reach me at Homes at Homes by Jazmyne on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all the platforms, all the medias. Send me a DM, message me. I'm always available. And we're always here to help you. We are part of the Darrell Bailey Real Estate team, and we'll see you all next Thursday. Thanks, y'all. We'll talk.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.